Signature items are not actually an official name, but it is what most people refer to as an item that only takes effect when used on a specific Pokemon, evolutionary line, or legendary group. These are some of the strongest interactions in the game, like Pikachu's Light Ball, the Marowak line's Thick Club, or the Farfetch'd line's Leak. However, in this video, I'm going to be talking about Pokemon with pseudo-signature items, a term I made up that I'm defining as an item that is not a signature item, but in certain contexts may as well be, due to it only having use on a limited number of Pokemon. I recently made 2 other videos on pseudo-signature moves and abilities, which I recommend you check out. Unlike those videos, I am expanding my definition of what is considered pseudo-signature for items quite notably. Moves and abilities are limited to Pokemon that can learn the move or Pokemon that get the ability, while items can literally be given to any Pokemon at any time, so I'm going to have to be a bit more loose on my criteria and a bit more specific on my context. For the criteria, I will be considering up to the 2 best users of a certain item, considering how the item interacts with the holder's ability, moves, typing, base stats, or some other attribute that specifically make it good on those few Pokemon. Those Pokemon will also tend to only use that one item, as any other item would be limiting their potential. For the context, I will exclusively be considering Pokemon in the context of relevance in Scarlet and Violet VGC, the competitive format in which I have the most knowledge. VGC specifically also has the duplicate item clause, which means that no 2 Pokemon can hold the same item, so you're forced to only use these items on one Pokemon on your team, something that singles does not have. So overall, think of this more as the best user of a certain item, rather than being a signature item. With this in mind, let's look at Pokemon with pseudo-signature items. Starting off, we have Flame Orb being the pseudo-signature item of Ursaluna. The Flame Orb inflicts the holder with a burn after a turn has passed. In the moves video, I mentioned Facade being the pseudo-signature move of Ursaluna, as it is a normal type with the ability Guts. Guts is an ability that increases the user's attack by 50% when inflicted with a non-volatile status condition, even when burned, which normally halves the user's attack. Since a burn is overall the least harmful non-volatile status condition in this case, it is the best status condition for Ursaluna to use to activate its Guts boost. In addition to halving your attack, Burn also inflicts 1/16 of the user's max HP every turn, so it is almost always bad to have unless you have a specific ability that benefits from it. Those being Marvel Scale, Flare Boost, Quick Feet, and what Ursaluna has, Guts. Marvel Scale increases the user's defense by 50% when inflicted with any non-volatile status condition. Flare Boost increases the user's special attack by 50% when burned, and Quick Feet increases the user's speed by 50% when inflicted with any non-volatile status condition. Milotic gets Marvel Scale, but it usually uses Competitive instead. Drifblim gets Flare Boost, but it usually uses Unburden instead. And a few different Pokemon get Quick Feet, but none of them really use it or are good enough in the first place to even mention. Thus, Ursaluna is the only Pokemon that wants to get burned in the format, so Flame Orb functions as its pseudo-signature item. Next, we have Focus Sash being the pseudo-signature item of Chien-Pao. The Focus Sash causes the holder to be able to survive any hit with 1 HP that would have otherwise knocked them out, as long as they were at full HP when they were hit. As I mentioned in my Glass Cannons video, the Focus Sash and Choice Scarf tend to be the go-to items for Glass Cannons. Chien-Pao is the best Glass Cannon Pokemon in VGC, and really one of the only good Glass Cannons in VGC at all. It almost always uses the Focus Sash, and it is consistently the Pokemon with one of the highest percent usage for the Focus Sash item according to Pikalytics. It was at 96% in Reg C, 61% in Reg E, 76% in Reg F, and 87% in Reg G. Those are just in best of 1 formats, by the way. In best of 3 formats, Chien-Pao sees even higher use with the Focus Sash at 88% in Reg F and 96% in Reg G. Since Chien-Pao has the unique ability Sword of Ruin, which lowers the defense of everyone around it, keeping it alive longer with the item Focus Sash and the move Protect is extremely valuable for the sake of your teammates' offense. Its next best items are probably Choice Band and Life Orb, but these items do not increase Chien-Pao's survivability at all. Other Pokemon absolutely use the Focus Sash as well, like Urshifu, Tornadus, Pelipper, Smeargle, and Whimsicott, but I feel that Chien-Pao is overall the best user of the Focus Sash, making it its pseudo-signature item. Next, we have Light Clay being the pseudo-signature item of Grimmsnarl and Alolan Ninetales. The Light Clay causes the status moves Reflect, Light Screen, and Aurora Veil to last 8 turns instead of 5 turns. Reflect increases the defense of the user's side of the field, Light Screen increases the special defense of the user's side of the field, and Aurora Veil increases both the defense and special defense of the user's side of the field, but only if it is snowing when used. Grimmsnarl is definitely the best Pokemon for setting up Reflect and Light Screen, since it has the ability Prankster, granting these status moves +1 priority. Alolan Ninetales is the best Pokemon for setting up Aurora Veil, since it has the ability Snow Warning, which sets up snow upon entering battle, as I mentioned in the moves video. Since these two Pokemon are the best users of Reflect, Light Screen, and Aurora Veil, Light Clay functions as their pseudo-signature item. The next best user of Light Clay is probably Sableye, which is overall just a worse version of Grimmsnarl, although it does have its niche over Grimmsnarl at times. Next, we have Wide Lens being the pseudo-signature item of Maushold. The Wide Lens increases the holder's accuracy by 10% multiplicatively, meaning that it multiplies the current accuracy by 1.1. This is kind of an underwhelming item in most cases, except in Maushold's case. Maushold gets the signature move Population Bomb, the 20 base power, 90% accurate, multi-strike physical normal type move. This is a unique multi-strike move since it can hit a maximum of 10 times, whereas most multi-strike moves only hit a maximum of 5 times. The way Population Bomb works is that it checks for accuracy on each individual hit, and if it ever misses, the move stops hitting entirely. Now, this move on its own is already very strong, with an average expected base power of 117.24. This was calculated by summing up the values you get when multiplying the effective base power of the move on each hit by the % chance of the move to stop at that hit. With no modifiers, our chance of hitting each time is 90%, and our chance of missing each time is 10%. With the Wide Lens, our chance of hitting each time increases to 99%, and our chance of missing each time decreases to 1%, resulting in an average expected base power of 189.32. We can increase this number even further though, since Maushold gets the ability Technician, which increases the base power of moves with a base power lower than 60 by 50%. In the case that Maushold has the Technician ability and holds the Wide Lens item, it will have an average expected base power of 284. This isn't even factoring in stab or terastallization, by the way. Let's be glad that Maushold only has an attack stat of 75. Next, we have Charcoal being the pseudo-signature item of Torkoal. Charcoal increases the power of the holder's fire moves by 20%. Torkoal's biggest strengths are its ability Drought and access to the move Eruption. Drought sets up harsh sunlight upon entry, and Eruption is a 100% accurate, special spread damaging fire type move that has a max of 150 base power, but decreases in relation to the user's current HP. Torkoal's main game plan is having a partner set up Trick Room so that Torkoal can outspeed everything, or force Torkoal into going first with After You, so that Torkoal can fire off max HP sun boosted eruptions. While it sometimes uses the choice specs, it's not great for consistent damage, since Eruption becomes significantly weaker if you lose HP, so it would be nice to be able to switch to a move like Heat Wave. Assault Vest isn't great, since it keeps Torkoal from being able to protect itself, and Eject Pack was actually used a lot in earlier regulations like in Reg C, but people have gone back into using Charcoal instead. Charcoal is great for consistency, since it boosts Torkoal's fire moves, doesn't lock it into a single move like Choice Specs, and doesn't prevent it from being able to protect itself like Assault Vest. It is also one of the only Pokemon that uses the Charcoal item at all, with Hisuian Typhlosion and Moltres really being the only other users of this item. Lastly, we have Life Orb being the pseudo-signature item of Landorus-Incarnate. The Life Orb increases the power of the holder's attacking moves by 30% at the cost of 10% of the holder's maximum HP after every use. The reason that this is so good on Landorus-Incarnate is that it gets the ability Sheer Force. Sheer Force increases the power of moves with a secondary effect by 30% at the cost of removing those secondary effects. This also works to an extent with items. So the secondary effect of Life Orb, where it causes the holder to lose 10% of its max HP after use, is also removed, while keeping the power boost. This means that with Landorus' ability and item, it has a 69% boost to its attacking moves with secondary effects, with the drawback that those secondary effects are removed. This is hardly a drawback though, because if you just one-shot everything with your attacks, you won't even need a secondary effect. In almost all Scarlet and Violet regulations that Landorus has been legal, it has been the highest percent user of the Life Orb at 99.99% in Reg E, 97.89% in Reg F, and 57.89% in Reg G, where its second most used item was the Choice Scarf. Other Pokemon absolutely use the Life Orb as well, like Raging Bolt, Blood Moon Ursaluna, or Golden Go, but due to the interaction with its ability, Landorus-Incarnate is probably the best overall user of the Life Orb. And those are Pokemon with Pseudo-Signature items, or an alternate title, the best users of certain items in Scarlet and Violet VGC. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, the best way to do so is just by leaving a nice comment. You can also click the join button and become a member, and I made the cost as low as possible at 99 cents. Members get perks such as early video access and shoutouts, but other than that, I currently don't have any other perks for members. Keep in mind that these videos will be releasing on my normal schedule for non-members, so don't feel obligated at all to join unless you really want to support me and you are financially capable of doing so. Likes are also one of the ways in which YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves it, I would appreciate it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.